John Cole with GrowingYourGreens.com to do another exciting episode for you. And what we're going to do today is an episode a lot of you guys have been waiting for. It's the ultimate composter review, like ever. So what we're looking at behind me is my compost alley, and this is the alleyway that I dedicate to making compost to add organic matter and add back fertility to my garden. You know, the majority of all my vegetable scraps and waste matter and trees on the property get chipped up, and you know, food in the kitchen that I chop up and use and have the peels and all this stuff, they all go in these composters, all 12 of them, as you guys are seeing all the way down the row. Now, compost is an essential part of organic gardening, but more than just the compost, you do need other things, in my opinion. You know, I provide my plants a plant-based compost, so I'm growing plants from plants. That's what I'm feeding them. I'm feeding them other plants. I'm not feeding them, you know, other kinds of things, you know, manure sources and all this stuff. That was plants that actually went through an animal that then is actually then getting composted, which may be good or may be bad. A lot of industrial manures, in my opinion, are not good because they may be contaminated with GMOs, heavy metals, pesticides, or even more importantly, herbicides. Some herbicides will go through animals, it'll come out in their poo, and then you'll compost it. It won't compost out. You'll put it in your garden, then it'll kill all your plants. So it's not too fun. That's why, you know, everything I compost, 99% of it, I exactly know what it is because it's coming from my garden or the food that I'm eating personally. So I use these composters to turn it into compost, but I also add other things besides the compost that are critical to my organic biologic gardening style. Number one, trace minerals, which actually it's a really good idea to add rock dust in when you're making your compost. Another thing that's really good to add in while you're making your compost, you know, is the biochar. That'll kind of incorporate the biochar and the rock dust in with the mixture and help break it down and get it more accessible and available for your plants. Of course, microbes are also key and fundamental to my gardening style. So besides just the compost here, I'm making vermicompost or worm compost, worm castings, you know, in my garden beds. I don't have a worm farm, worm tower, anything like that, which you guys might want to have. I prefer to have the worms in the soil where they're making the compost where they need it and where I need it, you know, to feed the plant roots, and they're breaking down the organic matter to cycle nutrients. In addition, I add things like compost teas and other biology, spray-on biology to further enrich my garden once I have it set out. Anyways, if you want to learn more about that stuff, be sure to check my other videos. I have over 1,100 videos now explaining you guys all aspects on how you guys can grow your own food at home, many specifically on biologic organic gardening, which is a step above just organic gardening and like at least 15 steps above conventional gardening and using synthetic nutrients, in my opinion. Anyways, let's go ahead to the compost alley, and we're going to go ahead and count down like David Letterman style or Johnny Carson style, if you're that old, from like my least favorite to my top favorite composter in my compost alley. So my least favorite composter in my whole compost alley that actually I don't use anymore, I just set it up for this video, is this guy. This is just a static bin, so basically just four pieces of plastic, a bottom and a top that you could actually just open up and put your compost in there to compost. This was the first composter I got here in the desert, and you know, I mean, this guy kept piling stuff on, and because it's so dry here in the desert, it didn't hold the moisture too well. It would just dry out, and I'd have like a lot of dehydrated fruit and vegetable scraps and yard waste and yard clippings and stuff in there. And so it didn't really work too well because, you know, besides just adding your carbon items such as your wood chips and leaves and things like that, and nitrogenous or nitrogen food scraps and other green clippings, you need to have a few other things. You need to have water or the right moisture content, and you also need to have the right air circulation. So like in a bin like this, yeah, there's a few holes and air gets in there, but if you got a really thick, dense pack, it's gonna go aerobic on you and kind of smell bad and not really compost. So you should get in there and try to like flip it and turn it every once in a while, which I was terrible at doing. Not to say that this style does not work. If used improperly, you know, it'll work. It just takes a lot longer, and I don't got time to waste in my life. I gotta I got a lot of compost and food scraps and yard waste coming up, and I want to keep turning it and cycling it. This one's made by Keter, and you know, on this guy, the little flap thing to lock it broke, and the hinges broke. Basically, this thing's a piece of junk. Yeah. So yeah, least favorite composter, number 12. Not gonna say it won't work for you, but in this climate, it definitely didn't work for me, and it does entail a little bit more work. The benefit is actually they are quite inexpensive, but if you're gonna do something like this, man, you don't need a compost thing like this, man. Just build a pile, a 4 foot by 4 foot pile, and keep piling stuff on. You don't really even need a bin to do that, or you know, get some galvanized fencing wire and just make like a circle and put it in there, right? I don't know, whatever. So that's my opinions on this. There's many different ways of composting. Mainly, we're going to talk about composting in a residential house where you don't want to get, you know, rats and mice and vermin and pests and bugs and all this kind of stuff. So that's why I choose to, you know, do an enclosed composter. So if you guys have acreage, you know, you're going to want to wait till I have my farm and do videos on composting on wide scale, because I might have one composter at my farm, but I'll be doing it totally different, right? All right, let's move on to number 11, least favorite composter. So the 11th least favorite composter is this guy. It's a Sunmar 400. This guy is huge, and you could slide this thing open, you know, put your food scraps in there. And this is a tumbling composter, and this is the style that I prefer to use in a residential area, and would, you know, encourage you guys to get, if you guys are in a residential area or even on a big farm and you don't want to deal with vermin and things that are getting in and eating your food scraps, because they will do that. Here we got, you know, I've seen a lot of cockroaches actually, so they don't get in my tumblers. So, but there's other things that actually get in my composters actually. I'll tell you about that in a second. But anyways, in this Sunmar 400, the main reason why I don't like it, and I'll post links to all the video reviews of all these composters that I've done individually at different times when I've gotten them. I have videos on most all of them, not all of them, but yeah, check down below in the description for links to the specific videos about them. But anyways, this works by it's like a big tube, and then inside the tube there's a smaller tube. So what happens is on the outer tube, that's where all the stuff is composting. And then when the stuff composts all the way, it goes in the inner tube, and then it's kind of supposed to work its way back out the center chamber here. So this is called the continuous composting system, which is kind of good in theory, but not good in design. So like, it sounds good on paper, and they have a good marketing ploy, but in real world, it just really didn't work that well. I mean, it worked, but it didn't work as well as compared to some of my other composters that you guys are gonna see. Plus, these guys are, you know, a pretty penny. I got this one on Craigslist for, I don't know, pennies on the dollar based on what it was supposed to sell for. And I was excited because it's large, and I was like, okay, I'll be able to compost a lot. It's maybe like the third one I got. And, you know, soon after I got it, actually the handle broke. This is where the handle was. The handle's inside. And it's just a part that you can't really glue because there's a lot of stress on this. So I called up the company and said, hey, man, I broke the handle. What's up? And they're like, well, you got to buy a new one. And I looked online, and one of the big problems with the Sunmar 400 was the handles keep breaking. So if you're the owner of a company and the handles keep breaking, like, don't just keep making the same dumb handles that keep breaking, right? Make it better. Make it out of metal. Put a metal rod inside the plastic so it doesn't break, and send them to all the customers to keep them happy. Or you could just keep charging people for handles that is, you know, defective in design, and, you know, just charge them for it. So, you know, this is not the company I want to do business with, not the composter I want to own. So that's why it's, you know, at the bottom of my list. Next, let's go to composter number 10, and why it's my least favorite composter. All right, so my least favorite composter number 10 is this guy. It's spinning around. Still works. This guy, this is probably the first or second composter I got. I mean, no, third, because I got that static bin first, then I got this one and another one. This one actually my brother gave me because he won it actually at some kind of contest. And I forget the name of this exactly. I don't even know if they still make it, but basically what it is, they make they took some 2x4 plastic 2x4s, made a frame out of it, used some ENT conduit, and put a conduit through it to have like a frame. I don't know if you guys could see the frame there. It's kind of hidden right here. And then they just took a 55-gallon drum that like gets reused. They drilled a hole in it, and they put the thing in there, the hole through there, and they have a pipe going down the middle, which you can kind of see on the bottom if I spin it around, for some aeration. But other than that, I didn't get any aeration in there. And I mean, this guy does work. I'm not gonna say it doesn't work. For the price, I got it for free, but for the price it was, like, it's a ripoff. But if you guys make your own, hey, that'd be a good thing. But the main reason why I don't like this, number one, the spin-off top, it's cracked in the sun over the hot UV over time. And that's not really that big a problem. It still holds, and I could probably get a replacement if I wanted to. But another thing that's happened is because these bins are not meant for spinning and tumbling on access, it's basically enlarged or engorged the hole that was originally made, so it's kind of like a little bit bigger than it was. That's still good. It's all right. You know, if you're going to do this, use a grommet. That would probably help prevent that. But the main reason why I don't like this style is because this is a vertical access composter. It's a vertical access, which means it's vertical. So like when you spin it, man, when I got this thing full of compost, I mean, it's empty right now. Well, not empty, it has finished compost in there, got to sift out. But when it's full of like fresh water weight compost, this thing is a pain in the butt to spin. And furthermore, there's no handles to really get a grip on it other than on the top. I mean, they got these little funky things on the bottom. But yeah, that's why I don't like the vertical access composters like this guy. I mean, it did work, and if you got one free, I wouldn't turn it down. But if you are looking into making your own barrel composter using a 55-gallon metal drum or plastic drum, do yourselves a favor. Don't put it vertically like this. Put it horizontally. It's going to make it way easier to spin. It's going to be a little bit less convenient because you're going to have to like cut a little hatch in there instead of using like the existing top or something. But it's going to be way better, way easier to spin, all this kind of stuff, right? So that was number 10. Let's go ahead and share with you guys now my ninth least favorite composter. So my ninth least favorite composter right here, this is known as the Suncast. And this is another vertical access composter. You know, it's a little bit easier to spin than the barrel because it's actually a little bit more fatter and not quite as, you know, tall. But still, it's kind of a pain. And once again, I don't like the vertical access composters. You know, this one I got on clearance at Lowe's. I forget how much it was, 20 or 30 bucks. I was like, man, I can't pass up a deal on a composter for that cheap. Plus, it gives me a place to store some of my extra compost when all my composters are working and not quite finished yet, because some of them do take longer than others. You know, in certain composters I can make a batch of compost in as short as 30 days. Some take longer, like 60 days or 90 days, if I don't get my ratios quite right. And I always want to encourage you guys to, you know, have good ratios, good carbon and nitrogen ratios. You want to have 4 times more carbon than nitrogen. So this means you're going to need to add a lot of leaves compared to food scraps, food waste. What I like to use instead is actually these compressed wood pellets meant for animal bedding, which is similar to what they use in pellet stoves, but I will get the stuff with animal bedding because we know that stuff is not going to be sprayed with anything because animals are in it. But yeah, this is the Suncast, and you know, I assembled this, and it took a fair bit of time to assemble. It wasn't that hard, but the challenge I have with this is that this thing takes up a lot of space. Like, it's like, I don't even know how deep. This is the depth, and I had to put it sideways in my alleyway because it wouldn't fit. It's probably like pushing 4 feet like wide, maybe 3.5, 4 feet wide. And the composting space is actually quite small, so there's not a whole lot of space in there. This plastic, I hope it's UV stabilized, but it's pretty thin. And the lock on top is a nice feature, but I don't know how long this is going to last, but at least it's something, and I've got to play with it. And I like playing with new composters and experimenting with them. It has a nice locking system, unlike the other vertical one I showed you out of the 55-gallon drum. At least it has a nice connection area where it's not going to wear and engorge the hole. There's a lot of screws to assemble, and I mean, it works, but I'll definitely be getting rid of this one of these days when I get something better. So yeah, Suncast. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, if you get a cheap composter on Craigslist, that's where I got a lot of these guys, right? Just go with it, right? If that's all you can afford, right? But if you want something better, hold out and keep waiting until I show you guys my number 1, 2, and 3 favorite composters. All right. So that was number 9. Let's go to number 8. So my 8th least favorite composter is this guy. This is known as the Compost Tumbler, and I guess they make a couple different models. I got this model pretty cheap on Craigslist, and basically it's a horizontal access tumbler, so I like this style. It's a fairly good design. You could open it here. For my liking, it's a bit small. I produce way too much compost, but using this with other composters is pretty good for me. The challenge with this is that I think it has fairly shoddy construction. Like, I bought this, got it home, filled it up with compost, and was tumbling it, and then one of the panels just totally popped out. So some of the screw things came apart, and kind of wondering, some of these pieces look like they're made out of plastic and they're kind of chintzy. So I'm kind of really wondering about the long-term durability. In addition, some of the parts inside there are rusting. Definitely not too good. So I'm gonna have to probably rebuild this and buy some new parts or do something to it. But this would be terrible if you guys bought this new and then it started rusting on you and panels started falling out. So I don't necessarily recommend this one either, even though it's a horizontal. I also don't like that it's actually fairly low, so it's gonna be pretty hard to dump out your compost and get it all set up for you guys. But if you guys get it for cheap on Craigslist, probably not too bad of a deal. So this was number 8. Let's go ahead to number 7. So the 7th least favorite composter is this guy right here, and this is known as the Toter. It's also a continuous cycle composter. When I learned about this, I'm like, wow, man, that makes so much sense. But in practice and using it, it just really didn't work that well. This is very similar, akin to like the static, the number 12 that I showed you guys, because you don't really get in there and turn it. I mean, they have this little handle on the top here that you're supposed to spin. It's supposed to help you get the compost out. And I mean, it seems pretty good, but basically, Toter is a big company. They make all these garbage totes or garbage cans, industrial style. And they made an industrial style composter, but I find that it just didn't really work as well as I thought it would. I'm pretty lazy. I'll come out and give my composters a spin, but I'm not going to get in there with a fork or a shovel and start flipping my compost around, right? I want it to work without me having to do anything, because I'm lazy, probably like you guys. And so this one just really didn't work that well. At least it didn't mess up like some of the other ones I've showed you, but I still wouldn't really recommend that. This unit, it does have a little flap on the bottom where you could actually open the door up and the compost is going to fall out on the bottom. And for what it is, it's fairly expensive. And I don't even know if they're still selling it these days. But yeah, not one that I'd recommend. And I do have a video on this. I'll put a link down below. When I got it and originally set it up, it was all the rage back then. All right, so that's this guy. Oh, and there's my cutters that I lost behind. All right, cool. Yep, lost my cutters. All right, so that was a bottom 6. So those are the ones that I don't recommend. Now we're gonna get into the top 6. And these are the ones that I would start to recommend. Each one has their own set of pros and cons. And so let's go ahead and take a look at my 6th favorite composter. So my 6th favorite composter is right here. This is called the Achla Designs, A-C-H-L-A Designs. And I don't know if they make this anymore, but this is another one I found on Craigslist for pretty cheap. It's a horizontal access. It has really nice little handholds. You could spin it. It's basically like, I think, one big piece of plastic that's like molded. So this is really cool. It's solid. It's a single panel of plastic, so there's no insulation in there. Let's see, the challenges I have with this is, let's see, this the opening, the hatch just like slides off, and I'm pretty tight on my space here, so I can't really slide it off because I'll run into the composter next to it. But the other thing is that it's actually, wow, it's still warm in there. It's actually a little bit small, so it doesn't hold a lot of compost, and I like to compost on the big, man. Like, I go through a lot of fruits and vegetables. I have a lot of food scraps and yard waste and things from my garden I gotta compost continually. Just owning this guy wouldn't cut it. That's why I have 12. I rotate through the different ones, like, okay, this one's heated up and this one's not currently working. And I do like that this is raised up, so you can kind of get some container underneath there to empty it out. I can't really say anything bad about this. I can't really say anything good. There's other companies that make ones like this. They may look like this, but they may not be like this. This is a one-piece unit, so I like that. Some of them that look like this these days, you construct them and they're kind of chintzy. and they're usually around $100, and they're pretty small. I mean, I don't know, maybe if you got an apartment you might get a small one like that, but I don't recommend it. So anyways, let's go to my number 5 favorite composter. This is where it gets into some of the ones that I really like. 5th favorite composter. You know, I love and I hate this composter at the same time. This is a lifetime dual barrel composter. So it's like, it comes with both these sides, and how this is supposed to work, you're supposed to have one side, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and, if I could open it up, you're gonna fill it up, and I got active compost in there. You're gonna fill it up and compost on this side. Once you fill it up and it's all done, you're gonna go ahead and just spin that once a day, and then you're gonna start filling up the other side. Once this side's filled up, then you can go back to this side that you've been spinning continuously while you're filling this side up, and this guy should be done. And then you empty this guy out, then you start reloading it, and you spin this every day. And so like you keep teeter-totting back and forth. So this, in my opinion, is the smartest way to make compost. The challenge I have with this lifetime, I like it because it's actually large. I don't like it because basically it's very poor construction. Number one, there's like all this metal here in the hinge assembly and whatnot. You guys probably can't see that in the video, but it rusts to hell. Like really bad rust. And I don't want to spray no WD-40 on there, petroleum distillates, that's gonna get in my compost. So actually I found some lamb's wool lubricant. They make it out of lamb's wool or lanolin or something, and that's like you know, a natural lubricant. You can probably use some kind of cooking oil in too, but this lamb's oil stuff really penetrates. The other reason why is like this thing, I had to like put some shipping tape on there because these corner pieces, oops, these corner pieces, this one's actually missing. There's one on this side on, you guys can see that right there. They keep popping out, man, and like they go back in and then they keep popping out. POS, man. I don't really recommend this. If you're going to buy one of these, don't. If you get one on Craigslist for a good price, do it. They're decent, and you might want to reinforce with glue the corner pieces and lubricate up all the metal so they don't rust or do something to it. And then actually it's going to work fairly decent. You know, when this was at its prime, before it got a couple years old and the sun started degrading it, it worked pretty good. I got it on Craigslist actually, but I wouldn't recommend them really at this point unless you got them for real cheap. Alright, let's go ahead and go to my 4th favorite composter. So my 4th favorite composter, one that actually I would start to recommend for the most part. I run all the composters through its test, man, and I really pile stuff in there and see what's going to happen. This is the lifetime dual barrel composter instead of like the previous one that's kind of square. These ones actually have like barrels, or plastic barrels. I'll post a link down below to the video when I assembled this unit. This one was available at Costco, probably still is currently if you guys are watching this, and maybe they're putting it on clearance since it's you know, a springtime item and we're kind of getting into summer now, so they're trying to clear out some of that stuff. $150 at Costco. Online it's going to cost you a lot more. For $150 it's a decent price, but this one also did give me some challenges. Number one, they really corrected a lot of the problems with the previous model with corners popping out and this kind of stuff. It's a much better design. It reminds me of like riding a log ride at like one of those amusement parks when I was a kid. It kind of has that like fake wood grain and it's plastic. It all goes together fairly easy. Took a little bit of time. You know, once again, the link is down below. It works pretty good. You know, it's got a pop open latches that are really secure, so they're not going to like have problems like the previous model. You know, this is active composting in here. And this is kind of like a dual, wow, it's quite warm in there. It's a dual wall, so they have one wall on the outside, then a wall on the inside, but there's no insulation in there. So this kind of is cool. I like that a lot. And they have latches here. Now the challenge I had with this is not just the first time, but it's the second time that this thing is busted out on me. So even though I cranked these guys down to as hard as I could, the barrel here pops out of this this end piece, and yeah, so like this thing is like leaking out. Now I gotta like empty it all out, reassemble it, try to tighten this back further, and I think it's kind of like stripped out or something like that because it's poor quality screws, and like when I go to tighten it up, it's just wrenching out the head. And I tried to call lifetime customer support, and they basically didn't respond until like 6 months later, and they're like, hey, we're gonna close out your customer support request. And I'm like, this is the first I heard from you guys, man. I'm like, whatever, man. You guys are lame. And I'm like, I need parts for this thing. I need a screw and these things, and they just like never sent them. So, yeah, Lifetime, poor customer service. They really need to get up on their game. Although, you know, this model much better than the previous model. It's currently available. It's the lowest price composter with the most area that you could compost. So for that reason, I really like it and would recommend it for you guys. You know, if you're on a budget, want to get something new, and of course, if you buy it at Costco, you get the Costco Forever Guarantee. If it ever messes up, save your receipt, take it back, and maybe next year they'll make improvements to this one, and hopefully they'll also improve their customer service. All right, so my third favorite composter is right here. It's also a Lifetime composter. I think this is like the third composter I got. Actually, I got it at Costco. And they don't sell this model anymore at Costco. They sell that new model I just showed you guys. But this is still available online. This is my favorite Lifetime model, although I have also had problems with this, like the latch is not aligning properly, the plastic busting out, and it leaked all over. You know, I got it reassembled, and then I haven't had problems since then. So that's really good. We could unlatch these guys and show you guys. This is their largest single bin composter. I kind of like those dual bins. But this is a large single bin, and man, this stuff is quite warm. Still composting, breaking down. And definitely the heat of the summer helps that out. But yeah, I really like this guy because it's just large. Once again, it has that kind of like dual panel, so there's like not just a single piece of plastic, there's a sheet on the outside, sheet on the inside. This kind of helps provide some insulation, but not a whole lot. Helps you out a little bit. Plus, this has such a gigantic area and mass of different, you know, items you're going to be composting. It really gets up the temperature really quite well. So I mean, I really can't say anything about this guy except when I had issues with this, contacted Lifetime, they never responded. So shame on you, Lifetime. I like it to this date. It's my third favorite Lifetime composter. This one's good if you just want to do a single batch and want more durability than the other ones that I've showed you guys. Now on to my top 2 favorite composters. These are definitely the ones you're going to want to get if you're serious about composting. So now I'm going to show you guys my second favorite composter that I've tested and have found in the whole wide world at this point. This is known as the Joraform Compost Tumbler. This is the model 270. That's 270 liters. I don't know how many, whatever, like gallons it is. But anyways, this is I like this because it's all made out of metal. This has never had any rust issues. It's powder coated metal, and more importantly than just being metal on the outside, you know, we got these nice latches. We could unlatch this, and on the inside, as you guys could see, they got this nice foam stuff. This is not just the standard foam, it's a special material that they use to insulate the compost. So this keeps it warmer on the inside. The Joraform composter was designed in Sweden so that you could compost even in the snow in Sweden, provided you got a nice mixture in there. I like this because it's insulated, made out of metal. It's actually high off the ground, so it's easier to dump your compost when you're ready, and plus there's no bending over. The other thing I like this a lot, other than other composters, is they got a lot of handles so that you could spin it. I mean, a lot of those other plastic ones, they don't have any external handles. They have like these things you could kind of grab into, built into the molded plastic. I mean, it works and stuff, but some of those composters, like the last one, the Lifetime, that gets quite heavy to use those little handholds that are kind of like a little bit chintzy. These have real handles that you could sit and spin. So you grab 2 handles on the doors, and you could spin it around, and then every other panel has 1 panel. So I could just go like this, and you could go really fast. And this is how I get my exercise, spinning my composter. But yeah, this guy works really great, easy to spin, high off the ground. I mean, I can't really say that much more about it. I mean, check the link down below for the video when I assemble this originally. What I do want to say is that, you know, this composter makes compost faster than any of the other composters that I have. Oh, my alarm's going off. And that's because of the insulation. Now, this has 2 chambers, kind of like, you know, the dual barrels. This has 1 barrel or 1 chamber, but the chambers are separated into 2, 1 and 2, and they have like a little partition here. So once again, on this side, you would fill it up, and once you're done filling it up, you'd close it, continue to spin every day. Then this side you start to fill up, and when you're done filling this side up, this side should be ready theoretically. All right. This is the composter that I can make compost in as short as 30 days. And let me go ahead and show you guys like the temperature in here, man. I mean, I open this up and it's actually quite warm. So I want to show you guys this real quick. So one of the things I recommend you guys get is a compost thermometer, so you guys can know how your compost is doing. And if your compost is not doing good, then you could make adjustments. And I do have a video, hopefully I'll remember, and I'll put a link down below on how to adjust your compost pile, whether you need to add more greens, more browns, maybe add a little bit more moisture, or what, to get it working properly based on the specifics. All right, so let's go ahead and put this guy in. As you guys could see, let's go ahead and put this in. As you guys could see on the meter there, we stick that in there. Currently we're at like 110 degrees, and look at that meter closely. We're gonna fast forward the video a little bit, but you guys can see it's already up to 120. Is at 110 when we started it, I think. Still going up, 130. Alright, so as you guys can see, I think it's like tacking out at about 143 or something like that. And if we look at our guide on the bottom, oops. So as you guys can see, it's pretty much tacked out at 143. It's actually quite warm. If I stick my hand in there, I could feel the heat. The heat is on in the Joraform. And if we look at the 140, there's like a little sayings on here. It says cold, steady, active, hot. So we have a hot compost pile, but not too hot. You know, you don't want your compost pile too hot, but this is, you know, in the hot range. You know, around 140, that's great. You know, 160 to 200, that's getting too hot. But yeah, this Joraform just cooks your compost down, so you have fast batches and some of the best compost, easiest compost that I ever made. All right, so this is the Joraform JK270. Let's go ahead and move on to my #1 favorite composter in the world. So my #1 favorite composter in the whole world that I found to date is this guy. You're like, John, didn't we just see that? No, man, you guys saw the Joraform JK270. This is the JK400, the large model. So this is like, if you guys run through a lot of compost, you're going to want to get this model. For most people, you guys won't want to get it. It's a little bit spendy. The other model is much more affordable. They do the same thing, but this guy is huge. Now, if you're a lady, maybe not that strong, you may not want to get this one, because when this guy's full, it's actually quite heavy to spin. But once again, it has those easy to spin handles, and furthermore, on the side here, it has, like on a ship, it has those like the steering wheel on the ship. It has these little things that you could sit here and pull. So like, instead of doing pull-ups, I'm out here pulling my composter, and you could work a lot of different muscle groups, man, just with your composters, pulling it this different ways. I mean, I'm sitting here pulling, but instead of pulling, I could sit here and push. Well, that's working different muscles, man. I don't do this too often. Ugh, who needs to go to the gym when you got a Joraform composter? All right. Yeah, this guy's still cooking down. It's actually quite full. Let me go ahead and show you guys. This one's not as hot because that's my current pile that I got running right now. But in here, once again, fully insulated. And this is actually a warm pile. This is probably the active, whereas the other one was hot. You know, just much like many of the other ones. Once again, this has two sides. This holds, I think, 400 liters, so it's even larger. I like this size better because your pile, because you have more mass of things breaking down, can get hotter and can finish a little bit faster. Not a whole lot faster, but these Joraforms can finish for me in as little as 30 days. I mean, this is metal. Now, I did have some challenges with my Joraform JK400 model. It was starting to develop some rust, so I don't know what that was about. But I contacted the company and they said, oh, John, no problem. You know, that should not happen with our composters in the time frame you've had it. And they sent me new panels to put on. So Joraform, unlike Lifetime, has high-level, top-rate customer service should you have an issue. As I mentioned before, my other model never had any rust issues, so I don't know why this one did. Maybe they had a bad batch that they made, or they didn't process or treat it right or coat it right or something. But yeah, this guy works really great, and my #1 favorite composter. You know, I always want to encourage you guys to buy something that's going to last a long time. And these Joraform composters, you know, they will set you back more money, but they're going to last a long time, unlike some of those cheap, inexpensive plastic ones that I showed you guys earlier. The other thing I'd like to mention is that to collect my compost, I get these large concrete mixing tubs at your local big box home improvement store, Lowe's or Home Depot. Not the small one, but the large one. I put those underneath here and dump all my compost in that, and then from that point I sift it out, and that makes collecting it a lot easier. I wish you know, these were tall enough to really get a wheelbarrow under. I think the JK 400 is, the 270 might not quite be tall enough, depending on how tall your wheelbarrow is. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's getting dark. I'm getting hungry. If you guys enjoyed this Ultimate Composter review showdown, please give me a thumbs up to let me know. I'll be sure to review composters in the future when I get more, because I will be getting, now that I made this video, I'm getting rid of some of the ones that I hated, probably the bottom 6, and I'm going to be replacing those with even new and better ones, and I'll have an updated review for you guys in a few years with my new favorites, because, you know, there's new composters coming out all the time, and I want to encourage every company that makes composters to always take it up to the next level. How can you make your composter better, more efficient, be able to compost faster, more heavy duty, not going to fall apart on me or anybody else, and just work? Because that's all what we want, and all these companies put out some defective, cheap plastic junk that keeps falling apart on me, and I don't really appreciate it, and I know you guys don't either. Now, you guys know the truth. You guys know my personal experiences with my composters, producing a lot of compost in my backyard here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. Be sure to check my past episodes. They are a wealth of knowledge. Be sure to check the links down below for videos to some of the specific composters that I talked about. Be sure to click that subscribe button right down below to be notified of my new and upcoming episodes I have coming out about every 3 to 4 days. And also be sure to share this with a friend. If somebody you know is looking for a composter, this will give them everything they need to know the best composters and what to look for when buying one. Also, be sure to check that link down below for my video on how to compost properly. That's very important. Even if you get one of the best composters, if you're not doing it properly, you're gonna have a compost fail on your hands. So anyways, once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on composting. Alright, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and what we're gonna do today is give you guys an update in my garden here. Springtime, weather's beautiful. Try to get out early in the morning to garden.